What's up? We're playing Modern today, and I kind of felt like playing some creativity, so I went to the deck drop and found Daddy Jinzo 420's kind of Jund Creativity list. This is like 5-color. If you don't know what creativity does or how it works, check this video out right here. I did like a whole video of how the deck's constructed, some of the theory behind the deck, and the play patterns it wants to go through, and I put some work into it. So if you're interested in creativity, definitely check it out. This is going to be a bit different than the deck that I referenced directly in that video, because that's 5-color creativity. This is technically 5-color creativity because every deck that has leyline binding in it is a 5-color deck. But this is more like a Jedi Jund take on the deck. If you don't know what Jedi Jund means, you probably didn't play Standard and Return to Ravnica Innistrad Standard, but it was fun. They put Fiend Slayer Paladin in Jund decks for the mirror matchup to cannibalize it. Anyway, everything's very stock for the Jund side. We've got Thoughtseize, Ren and 6, Bitter Reunion. We're doing the Persist thing. Shadow Prophecy is a little bit weird, but since we can get Domain so easily, it's kind of an easy way to get Archon into the bin and get some card advantage. And we've kind of clung on to Leyline Binding because the card is so good right now. So I like everything I'm seeing in the main board. The sideboard's pretty, there's no stock creativity sideboard list, but I like everything I'm seeing. We've got like the Leyline of the Voids for the, what's it called? The Living End matchup. And we got a couple Terastodons for the Tron matchup. I more or less agree with everything I'm seeing here, so I'm just going to play this list as is. As always, if you want to check out the list in detail, because I'm not going through it like, you know, card for card, check out the description below where I'll have that list linked for you. Anyway, that's everything you need to know. So let's hop into a Modern League. All right, we found an opponent and we lost the die roll. Mr. Poggers is our opponent. Hate to see the loss of the die roll. A lot of Magic in general, you prefer to be on the play, but decks like this with a proactive combo really want to be on the play. This hand is unfortunate. We've got one land, Thoughtseize. If we were to draw the second land and we could play this Ren and 6, this hand goes from being like pretty bad to reasonably good. But if our opponent just like leads on Ragavan or has any like effective proactive game plan and we miss our land drop, the game ends on the spot. So I'm not feeling super risky today. I'm feeling conservative. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. All right, this hand's much more safe. I can't deal with any threats, but if I ship a land, I can cast Bitter Reunion on turn 2. And if we find a Persist, we can try to take the game over with that. So we're going to keep this and we'll ship a Blood Crypt because, you know, we don't need 4 lands in our hand and fetches are better because we can set up our lands to have domain for the Leyline Binding and the Shadow Prophecy. Lead on island. All right, a naked island lends me to think that we're playing against either blue-black Bowmasters or maybe Rhinos. It could be Murktide, but they don't generally open on island paths. That's not a typical Murktide opener. They've got a stop set in my upkeep, which means these people either I'm not their first match in the league or they just always have it set that way because they have bad intentions for us in our upkeep. We could have led on Dwarven Mine, but I'm going to play the Mesa instead. The reason we're not leading on Dwarven Mine is just because like we can just drop it on turn 4 and it'll make the Dwarf. Some people will lead on their Dwarven Mines on turn 1 just to get the tap land out of the way. But in this deck, you only get 4 shots at Dwarven Mine. After that, you're out of them, and I don't like wasting them. Now, if I had like a 2-lander, I definitely would have led on Dwarven Mine. Tap for blue, Generous Ent. This is Living End, so I'm glad I have Leyline of the Voids in my sideboard, because I'm pretty sure this matchup is a little rough game 1. All right, go. On the bright side, if I can get this Archon into my bin, them casting Living End's going to be a little bit sketchy. As a matter of fact, they might pitch cast a Force to stop me from doing it. But I'm still going for it. We'll fetch. We're going to grab Jetmir's Garden. There it is. Comes into play tapped. My turn. Do you still have a stop set on my upkeep? Nope. Cool. They took it off. Thank you. Let's play Scalding Tarn, and let's go grab a Steam Vents. We can save the Mesa. We'll probably get a Blood Crypt with that, so we can actually cast to Persist if it comes down to that. But Jetmir's Garden plus Steam Vents gives us 2 mana right now, and it gives us a 2 mana Leyline Binding. So I like that pairing. Let's go red. Would you like to Mystical Dispute Bitter Reunion? If you don't, my Archon might just blow out your entire Living End plan. Oh, it's good. Okay, cool. I will use the ability. Boom. And I get a creativity out of it. That's pretty good. I would have preferred a Persist, but this will be fine. I'll just pass the turn. I imagine they just cycle a flurry of cards here. Another Generous Ent, probably to get a Stomping Ground. Just a Forest. They wouldn't Blood Moon me. Troll of Khazad Dumb. I don't know if Living End typically plays that. Crypt Shock. Is it Shardless Agent time? No. They're going to Violent Outburst. Okay, my turn. They're tapping 3. Is it time for Outburst? This is kind of a sketchy play. I'm just going to get an Archon and I'll be able to sacrifice the Bitter Reunion to give it haste. Dude, this play is bad. I think our opponent just threw the game. Either that or they're planning to like let me use this Archon to rip their entire game plan apart, but they have another Cascader and then they like do it again. I guess if they have that set up, this play is not as bad, but they're giving me a lot of extra draw steps here. Persist. Violent Outburst resolves. Okay, well, we're just going for it, right? Like, sacrifice Bitter Reunion, tapping for red, go to combat, attack you, trigger my Archon. Now, notably, they can block it with Generous Ent, but I'll just persist. I might, like, not persist. I might just cast Bitter Reunion, so if they have another Living End, they just have to, like, reanimate my Archon for me. And I draw another Archon, so I get to go to discard? No, I'll just discard it with the Bitter Reunion. This is bad for them. They take it? Are you out of your mind? What is your plan? Oh well, we're gonna go to our second main phase, play a mountain, tap for red, and play another Bitter Reunion. Okay, I'll use the ability, and I'll pitch this Archon. Draw 2 more cards, and I've got how many in hand? Is that 8? Go to end step. All right, go to discard, pitch Archon. Okay, now if you cast Living End, you die, because 2 Archons will trigger. I think that wraps up game 1. They did that about as poorly as they could have. Yeah, go to combat. I'm at 20-2. Now what? Pass to me, great. Oh, they concede. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's about what you do there. What's good against them? Silence is very good, because when they put a Cascader on the stack, I can cast Silence, and then they can't cast the spell they cascade into, which is always Living End. Leyline of the Void is good, because it shuts their entire game down. Veil of Summer is good, because it's going to blank their counter magic and their griefs. Terra Sunder and Nature's Claim are both very weak, so is Ray of Revelation and Celestial Purge. Terrastodon is very weak, as is Emrakul and the Plains. So it looks like we've got 6 cards we're interested in. What aren't we? How about 3 copies of Lightning Bolt? I think I might... No, this matchup's not going to be about Red Emblem. I'm going to cut all of my bolts, actually. So we'll cut 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. And then a pair of Leyline Binding, because they're a Living End deck, and when they have creatures, there's too many for my bindings to care about. Yeah, that seems right. We'll just go 6 cards for 6 cards and submit. All right, they're on the play. I wonder if they have Endurance. If they don't, there's a really cool play I can make based on my opener. We'll see if it's open to me. Play is open to me. We can, on turn 1, neglect to play a land and just discard our Archon of Cruelty. And I think I'm going to do that depending on what I draw. If I draw a Thoughtseize, I might like not do that, but I'm going to keep this and plan to go for that. The reason we do that, this is a really cool play you can make against Living End if you play Creativity, is that they're typically bringing Endurance. A lot of the Living End decks have trimmed some Endurance from their sideboards anyway. So by pitching your Archon on turn 1 and foregoing the land drop, you basically that's a whole turn to them. So even though it seems like you're skipping your turn by not playing your land, they can't actually Living End until they can deal with the Archon on your bin. Because sometimes they'll get to 5 or 6 creatures in their bin and cast Living End, thinking, okay, we'll overwhelm the Archon. No, Archon triggers when you Living End, you sack a creature. I attack, you sack another creature. You've discarded 2 cards, I've drawn 2 cards. The value you get is just so overwhelming. All right, my turn. Take a draw step. It's not a Thoughtseize, so we're going to discard. All right, end step. Pitch Archon. And if they stumble, we will reanimate our Archon with Persist. Sure, so you're going to shock it into play. Great. You're going to do a little cycle. Maybe a Generous Ent. Nope, Curator of Mysteries, sure. All right, can I discard this card now? See ya. There's the Generous Ent. Here's me F6ing. Breeding Pool, shocked into play to me. Bitter Reunion, great. I'll play Blood Crypt, tapped, and hit this F6 button. We got another cycle coming. Yep, little Architects of Will, sure. There's the Endurance. Okay, so they're gonna get rid of our Archon, but they have to pitch cast the Endurance for that to work. So now we could wind up, now this is a gambit. When you make this play, it's a huge gambit, because if they do have the Endurance, and they're much more likely to bring in Endurance if you're playing the Persist version of the deck, which you give away the second you cast Bitter Reunion, then it gets kind of dark, because if they resolve Living End here, it does get hard. We will give it a turn though. I don't believe this puts quite lethal into play. And if we could Bitter Reunion into Archon, we might be able to, let's see here, they've got, what is it, a 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Yeah, we'll give it a turn, because they did have the Endurance, but if they missed on it, the game would have been shut down. They're going to stack the top of my deck. I'm not sure how much that matters. My hand's full of Bitter Reunions. And then 15, 16, 17 power. So there's no, Fetch Shocking is not on the menu. We will die. We draw Leyline of the Void. That's a little bit too late, but we'll play Mountain. We'll tap for 2, and we'll cast Bitter Reunion. All right, we will trigger the Bitter Reunion. I will pitch a card. It'll be Creativity. I don't want to give up that I'm playing Leyline yet, because we don't always play that. Okay, I drew Archon, so there's no way for me to actually wake the board, so we'll concede. Just save some time, go to game 3. I do like our sideboard plan. We're just gonna resubmit. All right, that cheesy line we took didn't work, and it's not even open to us on the play, because we can't go to discard turn 1. So now we're fishing for a turn 1 Leyline of the Void. For anyone wondering, oh, Nia Mushroom, that went so poorly. You just died. They Endurance you and you died. They often don't have the Endurance, because they normally don't play a full grip in the sideboard. And then B, if you look at the structure of that game, because I'm not playing Spell Pierce or Teferi or anything, if I had played my land on curve, I would have died in the same fashion, more than likely. All right, would you like to play first? I would. And we have a Leyline of the Void. We have 2 even. Keep. I think I'll put both into play. Now our hand doesn't do anything else, to be fair. But let me see here. They probably play Force of Vigor. So do I just expose one of them and hold one? I think I do. But that gets blanked by Besiege You. Yeah, I'm just gonna reveal one. I really don't want to get hit by Force of Negation. If they have Besiege You, so be it. They'll ramp me into my other Leyline. But that means this Arid Mesa is probably going to get Xander's Lounge, so we can develop black mana early to try to actually cast the second Leyline of the Void if they have the answer for the first one. Cool. Cycle Street Wraith goes to exile. The nice thing here is that Living End often keeps loose-ish hands because they can just like every card in their deck says draw a card. But now, if they're going to keep drawing cards in order to make their land drops and find their spells, they're going to be putting those cards in exile. So up until the point that they answer this Leyline of the Void, every card they cycle is basically useless. It just goes straight to exile. They're going to pass to us, so we'll grab our Xander's Lounge. And them opening on Watery Grave is actually hilarious because that can't do besiege you things. So here's a Xander's Lounge. Here's me going to my turn. Arid Mesa, great, land, go. Oh, it's an Architects of Will, cool. There's a Breeding Pool, tapped, great, love to see it. So we can wait to get our Blood Crypt. We'll just grab a Jetmir's Garden. That way our Shadow Prophecies and potential bindings are a little bit better. But then this Bloodstained Mire can get the Blood Crypt and we'll have black. That way if they do get around to answering the Leyline, we can just follow it up with another one. Because like I said, their graveyard's still empty, so I'll have a moment of reprieve. We'll play Bloodstained Mire and pass. Picking up Creativity is pretty great here, but we really want to wait for a Thoughtseize because them having Force of Negation is like a very big possibility. I would say it's even likely. So I'm going to want to check their hand before I go for the Archon. There's the Force of Vigor. That happens. So I'm really glad we didn't lead on both. Let's see how bad they can make it. Now, if they're able to fill their graveyard up right now and then go for a Living End, we may have to pull the trigger on Creativity faster than we want to. But for those of you who don't know how Force of Vigor works, which I imagine is none of you, it can hit up to 2 artifacts and enchantments, which is why we didn't lead on both Leylines. They can't actually Violent Outburst here, so we're going to fetch. We're going to grab Blood Crypt. It'll come into play tapped. And we'll go to our turn. And we're probably just going to jam Leyline of the Void here, because they definitely have to force that. So let's go Dwarven Mine, trigger the Dwarven Mine, and if they have force, they'll have to show it here. That's too many red. It looks like I'm casting Creativity. There we go. Black, Leyline of the Void. Do you have Force of Negation? Cycle Striped River Rinder. They're going to try to fill their graveyard up a little bit before the Leyline resolves, which is fine. Curator, sure. Okay, it resolves, great. And then we will pass. I could have gone for Creativity there, but that runs face first into cards like Brazen Borrower, and obviously the Force of Negation. What I was hoping for is all they had was Force of Negation, and then they forced the Leyline of the Void, letting me follow up with the Creativity for 2. But that isn't currently the world we live in. Do they go for a Shardless here? I hope not. Pass. We're definitely going to go for a Creativity here, because if they counter it, I keep the 1/1s. But if they let it resolve and then live again me, I can just persist my Archons. They're going for a Shardless, so it looks like we have to cast our Creativity pretty quickly here. And we have the fetch land, so we can get the Dwarven Mine. All right, you got it. You got a bunch of creatures. You better have Force of Negation. Another Creativity, not the worst. Land, fetch, grab Dwarven Mine, trigger the mine. Here's to hoping. Something this deck kind of has to do sometimes is just go for it. Do we leave? We don't have any actual blue spells, so we'll leave the Jetmir's Garden up, so if we draw one of our bindings, it's better. Creativity, target dwarf. Show me force. No force. Archon of Cruelty triggers. They pitch Shardless Agent, sacrifice Shardless Agent, I draw a card, the Curator of Mysteries triggers. All of that is fine. And we drew an Arid Mesa, so we can go for Creativity again. And if they can deal with my Archon, I can reanimate it. This is a pretty good spot for us. And we've got a Leyline of the Void, so every creature that dies on their side of the battlefield gets exiled, which is big game. All right, go. Tap for 4. Are they going to hard cast like a Curator of Mysteries? Oh, they're going to use Otawara. What are they bouncing? My Archon? Sure. I'm going to cast another Creativity. All right, so they've got what? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 power coming in. It's substantial. All right, I'm at 4. My turn. What do we draw? Persist? That's too many persists deck. Okay, here we go. We're going to play Arid Mesa. We're going to fetch. Once again, if we run into a Force of Negation, the game ends and they just win. But that is what you sign up for. That's why Living End's a good deck. Sometimes it doesn't matter how prepared you are. All right, tap for a bunch of mana. Creativity, target dwarf. Archon, trigger Archon. Oh, did we just die here, actually? Does that troll have 6 power? We need to draw a banger. Yeah. I've done some... Well, I guess the math didn't matter. I couldn't really play it any other way, right? So we just have to hope that the draw off the Archon of Cruelty is very good. Binding. Scalding turn. Ugh. Looks like we get cheesed out by Living End. Hate to see it. I guess... Yeah, we're just straight up dead here. I'm not going to give them the opportunity to misclick because that's, like, scummy. So we'll take the loss. We're 0-1 versus Living End. Living End can be a pretty rough matchup, especially when they have the opening on Force of Vigor. But so be it. I think we played fairly well. Let's go to round 2. All right, round 2, and we've lost the die roll again. These last few videos, we have just like lost almost every die roll. Feels rigged. I think like Arena and Magic Online can sense that I've turned a camera on. All right, our opener is Thoughtseize and Creativity. If our opponent opens on a banger, it's bad, like a Ragavan or something. But if they don't, I like it. We're going to keep. And they mulligan to 6, so that means we have to keep, right? We'll open on Bloodstained Mire. Pass to me, great. Lightning Bolt, amazing pickup. Pass turn. Barra's HQ. The fuck does that mean? Barra's HQ into a basic plains? Okay, I have no clue what's happening. We'll fetch. We'll grab Jetmir's Garden, take our turn. Another creativity, another decent pickup. Let's go ahead and play Bloodstained Mire. We are not going to go for the Thoughtseize yet. The earliest we'll Thoughtseize is turn 3 to see how clear the way is. See if we can force the creativity. Another thing we can do, depending on how they play their turn, is wait even longer and try to do it on turn 5. Pair Thoughtseize with creativity. That also works pretty well. 3 mana, Teferi, sure. Take up the Teferi, why not? Pass to me. I think we'll be going to grab a Xander's Lounge. Pair it up. Domain is active. Binding is a good tap deck now. Stomping Ground's a pretty medium one. So now we have a decision to make. Do we want to go for the Thoughtseize now to find out if they have answers to our creativity? Since we can go for creativity 2 turns in a row, I think we're kind of interested in that. So what we'll do is we'll tap the Xander's. Do we want to feign having blue? No, there's a Teferi in play. We'll tap Xander's for black and just Thoughtseize our opponent. A pair of counterspells and a Solitude. So the coast is in no way clear. We're going to have to figure that out. So do we want to take a counterspell or let's see. They can cast Counterspell. They don't have any lands, so they may have to bite on minusing this Teferi sooner than later. Let's take a Counterspell. We can't fight through a billion of them. And then we will play a Stomping Ground tapped and ship the turn. They minus the Teferi because they kind of have to. They need to try to make land drops. They found one. It's a Flooded Strand. So this is going to let us bolt the Teferi, which is pretty huge. On tap, draw an Arid Mesa. We'll play an Arid Mesa. We'll tap for red and try to take care of this Teferi now. They can Counterspell it if they'd like. They don't. Okay, pass to you. This means we know they have Counterspell, Solitude, ending. 2 mystery cards after they draw? Sure. We've got a Xander's Lounge. What kind of Triumph pairing is that? I guess it does the job. So they've got 2 mystery cards and we know one of them's not a land. Fable. That's a pretty good bait spell. Let's just cast the Fable now. Basically instruct our opponent that they need to deal with this. Burn your Counterspell. If we can burn their Counterspell with the Fable and then try to go for a creativity for 2 to dodge another Counterspell, then they can't use Solitude to stop our creativity. There's the Counterspell. Took the bait. Here's another fetch land and I will pass. Now we know they have ending Solitude, mystery, and they're going to get a draw step. Ideally, they draw a land at some point. They just did. So we're dealing with 2 mysteries. We already took out a Counterspell. So is this where we go for it? Do we go for it for 3? I think we might. Yeah, we'll try a good old creativity for 3. See if it just, another creativity, great. Let's go Dwarven Mine, trigger the mine, make a dude. We will go for a fetch, grab a Dwarven Mine, make a dude, trigger the Dwarven Mine. One more little fetchy fetch, another Dwarven Mine. Now, as long as they can't deal with all these dwarfs, we get to go for this every turn. So here comes creativity, targeting 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, show me the counterspell you drew. Oh, they concede. Great. Okay, that was easy. Game 2. Now, I think Veil of Summer is going to be very good. Ray of Revelation, potentially. I think they're probably on Binding. No Purge, maybe Silence. No Leyland of the Void. No Terastodon. Maybe Claim, probably not. No Emrakul, no Plains. I think Terra Sunder's too clunky. We can technically use it to deal with the Teferi, but I think we don't care enough. Although, since it also deals with Binding, if we're bringing in Claim, maybe we just bring in 1 Terra Sunder as like a flexible answer. That gives us 5 reasonable cards. Are there 5 cards we don't want? And the answer is not really. Our whole deck actually lines up fairly well. I think Bolt's pretty weak, so we'll cut 3. I think Binding's also pretty weak because the things that we Binding all have ETBs. So maybe I can trim like 1 or 2 of those. What else? Does anything else suck? Not really. Yeah, let's trim a couple of Bindings. I might go back on that game 3 if we lose game 2, but we'll find out because in place of the Bindings, we have Ray of Revelation and Terra Sunder. So maybe that's good. I don't know. Let's bring these in and hit submit. All right, we got a 2-lander with a couple Shadow Prophecies, a Bitter Reunion, a Fable. This hand's pretty good. We'll try to convert these Shadow Prophecies quickly, meaning that this Tarn probably needs to find like a Triome. Which Triome, I'm not actually sure. I think I'll grab the black one so I can cast Shadow Prophecy. And if I grab the black one, I can Thoughtseize them on turn 2. Seems great. Pass. Misty Rainforest, pass. Grab a Xandes on tap. Draw for turn. An Archon, not bad. I do have the Bitter Reunion, but I think I'm going to open on a Thoughtseize, yeah? Maybe I just open on the Bitter Reunion. Kind of a hard one, actually. Let's see. If we open on Bitter Reunion and they counterspell it, we can Thoughtseize on turn 3. But if we open on Thoughtseize and they counterspell it, we can Bitter Reunion on turn 3. Gives us a better chance to hit our 3rd land drop for the potential of drawing into Persist, which we don't currently have. Let's go ahead and Thoughtseize them first. See if I can get them to burn a counterspell. All right, they have 1 counterspell. We will take it. Play Mountain and pass. So their hand is lands and a Solitude. I think one of them was an Otawara. Yep, 3 lands plus Otawara. So they've got like a spell and a half in their hand. Hollowed Fountain tapped. Sure, my turn. All right, we didn't draw lands. Let's go ahead and cast Bitter. Bitter resolves. So we will pitch Archon, and we drew the land, so we'll put a Steam Vents into play tapped, and that's all she wrote. Pass. Flooded Strand, and they just drew that. That means that we still know about Solitude, Basic Island, and Otawara. Okay. They may not have a pitch spell for Solitude. I don't think I run those odds though, right? Nah, I'm just gonna drop a Fable. I could also wait and cast the Shadow Prophecy, but I think the Fable's pretty good here. Let's just drop that. They have the counterspell, so be it. Fable, they found Veto, sure. Here's a Dwarven Mine, F6. They fetch, great. So what does that leave them? They got Island, Solitude, Otawara. Okay, now it's Island, Solitude, Otawara, and 2 mystery cards. Play the island as land for turn, great. My turn, sick. Love to see it. Tarn, fine draw. Let's go to combat first. Wait, no, we'll try to resolve the Fable, because if it does resolve, I get to give my 2/2 haste. Although if I go that route, they probably just flash in Solitude, exile the 2/2, block the dwarf, right? Don't love that. There's nothing I really want to pitch either. Maybe we'll just play Scalding Tarn and go to combat, because they probably can't just hard cast Solitude if I attack, right? Then I'll just fetch and cast Creativity. So attack you for 1, and then pass the turn because Shadow Prophecy is an instant. We'll fetch for Jetmir's Garden, and then Shadow Prophecy digs us 5 deep. We can try to hit Veil of Summer or Thoughtseize or something along those lines. What are they going to do? Hard cast Solitude? That is great with me, actually. All right, respond. Fetch. Jetmir's Garden, black, these 2. Shadow Prophecy. All right, we get 2 of these. What do we think? Veil of Summer plus Renin 6? That seems pretty good. Veil of Summer plus Renin 6. The rest go to the bin, including an Archon. So then you get to have a Solitude. Okay. Solitude exiles my 1/1. Are we going on the classic blue-white plan of race me with the Solitude? I say that like it's an ironic thing, but that is often how blue-white actually wins the game. All right, go to combat. I'm just going to F6. I have no actions. You did it. All right, we drew the Persist, which is like as good as it gets. Red, black, persist, target Archon of Cruelty. How about this? Archon comes into play, triggers, sacrifice Solitude, pitch Hollowed Fountain, I draw a card. Okay, this seems like a good a time as any. Tap, sacrifice, give my Archon haste, combat. Would you like to Otawara my Archon? Or did you draw Solitude number 2? Otawara, great, goes to my hand. Can't Veil of Summer those. And then we can go green, red, Renin 6, take up Renin 6, buy back Tarn, play the Tarn, have a full grip, pass the turn. Good luck, dude. Up the Beanstalk, of course. I assume you would enjoy to cast a Leyline Binding, take out my Renin 6. The Beanstalk has been strangely potent. Like, as a modern card, it's just been very good. We'll fetch here. We're actually gonna be a little funny and grab Blood Crypt. We'd like a second black source. We now have an Archon in our hand, and we're about to play our 7th land, so hardcasting Archon becomes something we're interested in doing at some point. Go to my turn. Card is Fable. We'll play not the land from our hand. We'll take up Renin 6, buy back the Tarn. We'll play the Tarn, and instead of getting super crazy, I'm just going to cast me a Fable. Trigger the Fable, make a 2/2, and then from there we'll just sit pretty with a full hand and watch our opponent try so hard to dig out of this. I don't think they can. All right, they concede. Great. Easy peasy game 2. For anyone not in the know, the control matchup for Creativity, unless the control player is very, very, very experienced in the matchup, probably needs to also be a Creativity player, because most control players, like, they just cannot beat the deck. Even if you're good, it's like still super favored for Creativity. But every spell in Creativity is just like a 6 for 1. And like control is just trying to like 1 for 1 and 2 for 1 its way into having a Solitude in play that they can kill you with. Creativity doesn't let you do that, so it's not really our opponent's fault. That matchup's just awful for them. Let's go to round number 3. And it's funny, actually. Now you can see the round number. I forgot to unmute it. I need to make new layouts for when I play Arena in Magic Online, so it's not so I don't forget shit. All right, round 3. We lost the die roll again. This actually does feel personal at this point. Our opener looks not bad, actually. Our opponent's keeping 7. I think I get to keep my 7 too. The Archon on my opener is normally kind of clunky, but we have Persist in this deck, meaning that we can actually convert the Archon. We don't have a way to pitch it yet, but we can work on that. Some crazy players even Thoughtseize their own Archon, but unless my opponent leads on like Giver of Runes, there's no way I'm doing that. I think I want to play Renin 6 on turn 2 pretty badly, so I'm likely to just open up on fetch land and go get, if I don't need to bolt, I can get a Triome, but if I do need to bolt, I can do like, do I need to Thoughtseize on turn 1? I think I actually go fetch, shock, Blood Crypt, Thoughtseize to make sure I can cast Renin 6. Yeah, I think we'll try that, depending on what our opponent opens up with. Sacred Foundry, shock, tapped, okay. So this could be Burn, but that would be a very bad opener from Burn. But that being a Sacred Foundry makes me wonder if I'm playing against Burn. Kinda sketchy. I don't know if I actually want to Thoughtseize them. That might be a little bit too aggressive. Let's play Scalding Tarn and just pass the turn. I was hoping they'd open on like a fetch land or something, give away that they're maybe on Rhinos or Living End, and then Thoughtseize would be quite a good play. But if they're Burn or some low to the ground deck, the Thoughtseize might deal more damage than it does good. Another Sacred Foundry, shock it into play. Roiling Vortex, okay, so this is Burn. I'll let the Vortex resolve. They're gonna pass to me, which is fine. Now I kind of wish I had Thoughtseized out my own Archon. That would be amazing this turn. All right, fetch. We'll go ahead and grab I don't need white at all right now. We'll just grab Xander's Lounge. Maybe we grab Jet Mirrors for the Renin 6. No, Renin 6 is awful in this matchup. We'll grab Xander's. All right, Whirling Vortex deals a damage to me, and that's fine. Draw Bitter Reunion. Okay, now we can have our cake and eat it, I guess. We'll play Arid Mesa, fetch. Again, I'm not catering to the Renin 6 at all. I'm very comfortable just getting a basic mountain. Then we'll go red, Bitter Reunion. Opponent, you are in trouble. We'll pitch Archon. Draw a land? Not a land. That's unfortunate. We're just going to pass here. If we draw a land, it gets really good because then we can give the Archon haste, and that would be game ending, I'm pretty sure. They take one to their own Vortex. Great. Shock and Sacred Foundry. What do you want to do? Bolt enters the Exile Zone. Do they know they're going to take 5 to their own Rift Bolt? Okay. The Whirling Vortex deals 5 damage to players when they don't spend mana to cast a spell, so that seems a little sketch to me. Stomping Ground. Wow. I'll shock this into play. I'll tap for red and black. I'll put Persist on the stack, targeting Archon of Cruelty. Opponent, your move. Skullcrack. Great. Archon. Trigger the Archon. Discard a card, I'll draw a card. Okay, Boros Charm, great. Sacrifice Bitter Reunion. Go to combat. Does this just kill you? 5, 6, 7, 8? Yeah, this just kills them. I think they have to cast the Rift Bolt from Suspend, right? It just gets put on the stack. Can they choose not to cast it? All right, I draw another card. It's a Scalding Tarn. We don't care about that. 5, go to 4. All right, this game I think is very much over. I'll just go to discard and pitch a Renin 6. See ya. All right, you have a Whirling Vortex trigger on the stack and a Rift Bolt on the stack. Take 1, great. I can now kill you with my Lightning Bolt. All right, great. Game 2. That was not smart from the burn player. They should have just tapped out to hard cast their Vortex or their Rift Bolt because they maybe could have bought a turn, but instead they just died. Okay, they're a Vortex deck, so I think Purge is good against burn. I don't care about Ray. I think I'd rather have Nature's Claim. Then Leyline of the Void seems pretty bad, as does Veil of Summer. I think Terra Sunder could be like reasonable. Maybe we do want Ray, because just in case they play Eidolon, I think we might want to have like access to Ray of Revelation. Terrastodon, no. Terra Sunder, no. Most of our cards just like aren't very good in the burn matchup. What's bad? I think that Shadow Prophecy high key sucks. But you know what sucks worse than Shadow Prophecy? All 4 of these Renin 6. Can we just cut these from the deck? I think so. But that means I want to bring in one more thing. Do I really want to like play around their whatchamacallit? Whirling Vortex that hard? I think I might. I think it's just better than Renin 6. Yeah, we'll do 1 copy of Terra Sunder. We'll do that. Like, I don't love any of the cards I'm bringing in, but I hate Renin 6 because it just doesn't do anything versus burn. Anytime you spend mana in the burn matchup, you need to be progressing some type of game plan. And unless, like, your hand's really loose and you need your Renin 6 to make every land drop, it's just not that good. This hand has an Archon and a Bitter Reunion. Well, I'll keep this based on A, hoping I don't get Sanctifier Invect. That's a big one. And then B, if I just draw Persist at any point, it's very good. Yeah, we'll just keep. Mountain, sure. Goblin Guide. Suspend a Rift Bolt, sure. My turn. Creativity, great pickup. Here, we're actually just gonna, weirdly enough, I think we will drop a Steam Vents into play tapped. No, Sacred Foundry's better. We've got more white spells now. We'll drop Sacred Foundry into play tapped. No reason to fetch just yet, and our fetches can all get Dwarven Mines. So we'll go like Sacred Foundry into Mountain, play the Bitter Reunion, pitch the Archon to the Bitter Reunion. If we draw into a Persist, it gets really dark. Then if they play Sanctifier and Vec, we can pivot to the Indomitable Creativity plan. I take 3, you got it. I'm gonna F6, I have nothing for you. Sunbaked Canyon, sure. Another Rift Bolt enters Exile, sure. Unlava Spike me, great, you got it. Another Creativity. All right, we don't quite need that one, but that's fine. We'll play a Mountain, tap for 2, play Bitter Reunion, trigger the Bitter Reunion. We're gonna pitch Archon. Come on, Persist. Not quite. 2 more lands, rip. All right, F6. Rift Bolt comes off of Suspend, hits me for 3, I go to 11. Their clock's looking pretty good. All right, they're gonna pass to me. They might have like a Whirling Vortex in their hand or something, but they're prioritizing holding up Skullcrack. So I'm gonna put my opponent on having a Skullcrack and a Whirling Vortex. We've drawn 1 creativity and 3 or 4 lands. So our top decks have not been phenomenal, but we will just put in a, I think we will do a fetch this turn. That way we can develop black mana. Do we even need to? I don't know. Unclear. I'm gonna put a tap Steam Vents into play. Actually, we've got 2 creativities, so we're just gonna kind of like go for that game plan. What are we doing? Tap in 2? Just bolt me? Sure. You got 3 in hand. I'm at 8. Fiery Islet, you got it. Tap 1. Lava Spike me, I go to 5. Okay. Well, this means I have to cast Creativity. I really don't have much of a choice. That way, at least if they do have Searing Blaze, they only deal 1 to me. Oh, I just drew a Persist. Well, okay. This makes me really wish I had developed black mana sooner, because I could just wind up dead. What if I just go for the Archon? Like, what if I don't Persist? What if I like keep my life total a little bit higher and just play Dwarven Mine, trigger the Mine, make a 1/1, and then try to Creativity it? It means I can't go for the Bitter Reunion play, but I still think this is a bit better than just fetch shocking down to 2 and dying to anything. This puts it on, they need to have like a way to kill this, plus like a Searing Blaze plus Boros Charm. Skullcrack, sure. So the last card in their hand has to be, doesn't matter what it is. They have to top deck the kill because this Archon's about to make them pitch a card. All right, discard one, please, opponent. So if I went for the persist, I would have died. Very good to know. Eidolon of the Great Revel. All right, opponent, you have 2 shots. Go. Just draw a creature. Crack Fiery Islet. Don't have it. It's got to be Bolt or Rift Bolt. Are we shocking in the Sacred Foundry? Do we have it? Oh, that was easy. All right, Burn can sometimes be a tougher matchup, but that particular Burn player put up absolutely no fight whatsoever, so let's get into round 4. All right, can we get a die roll win? No. Lost the 4th win in a row. Very cool, MTGO. Does our opener look good? It looks fine. We've got a Bolt in case of a Ragavan. Our opponent mulligan, so we're auto-keeping anything that's playable. We can have Domain for Leyline Binding by turn 2. This hand is beautiful. We'll keep. I have lost so many die rolls. Oh, by the way, you watching this, they're mulling to 4. Thanks for the easy game, I think, unless my opponent's playing Tron. Bad matchup for this deck. What was that? Where was my train of thought? Streaming. I'm not a streamer. We used to, for my old channel that I used to work on, we did some streaming and it was fine, but I think streaming is like, I much rather curate the content than just stream everything. But I play so much Magic the Gathering online and Arena, I'm considering maybe going live on YouTube, 1 or 2 days a week, just like late at night, because that's when I usually play off camera anyway. And streaming just my games. So if anyone would be interested, and you're still watching at this point, drop a little commenty comment in the comments below. That's the Savai Triumph, so this might be the creativity mirror. Drop a comment and let me know, because I would love to know if people would like to see some streaming. I don't know how scheduled it's going to be if I do it. It's probably just going to be like I make a quick post about, hey, I'm going to go live in a little while, and then I go live and we just play some Magic, and that's the end of it. That's a Valakut? Okay, this is not creativity, I don't think. I guess creativity could technically play Valakut. It shouldn't, but it can. Okay, let's go Scalding Tarn. Let's fetch. Let's grab a Steam Vents. Shock it into play. We did that so we can have something to buy back with the Renin 6 for anyone wondering. Red and green. Here's a Renin 6. Take up Renin 6. Buy back Scalding Tarn. All right, pass turn. Tap 2 mana for a Prismatic Ending? Sure. F6. I've got lands for days. Play a Temple Garden tapped. Why not? My turn. Lightning Bolt. That's probably not very good. Let's go, do I need to hold up Binding? I can do it if I shock in. Maybe for tempo reasons, it actually makes some sense to do that. Let's play Scalding Tarn. You know what? No, I take that back. I need to be able to fetch for Dwarven Mine, so I'm just going to leave that Scalding Tarn in play. That was maybe a little goofy, because if I draw creativity, I'm probably going to go for it because their hand size is so small. Here's a Bitter Reunion. We're going to trigger the Bitter Reunion, and we will pitch a Lightning Bolt. Probably not very good in the matchup. Draw a couple of lands. Okay, so now we are good. We've got lands to cast the creativity, but all we have is reaction. We don't have any proactive stuff, so we need to draw into that as soon as possible. Our opponent's missing land drops, though, so that's fine with us. We're going to complete Domain here. Matchup's pretty grindy, so don't mind me as I go grab Blood Crypt and put it into play tapped. That way, if I draw another Renin 6 and ever gain access to my Xander's Lounge, I can start to cycle it for 3 mana, pick it up with Renin 6 and cycle it again, kind of creating a Howling Mine effect, a one-sided Howling Mine. I'm the only one drawing cards. Then we'll play Mountain here, right? Do I want to make a Mine? Maybe I do. Maybe I want to go Bloodstained Mire. Fetch. Because they've missed land drops, so we want to kind of start attacking their life total now. That way, if we never draw into a way to make Archons, we still have some type of a loose game plan. Trigger the Dwarven Mine to make a Dwarf. Then we're going to drop Fable, and if they can't interact with it, I see no blue mana. We'll sacrifice the Bitter Reunion and get busy. That'll let us make a Treasure, which is a more resilient permanent to hit with creativity. Plays around their bolts and stuff. Okay, tap 1, 2, 3. Here's a Fable, leaving up, very importantly, Jetmir's Garden for the Leyline Binding. Just in case they play like what's the name of this stupid 3-drop? Dryad of the Elysian Grove. This Bitter Reunion. Wait, I guess if we pitch the Bitter Reunion, we can't hold it up, but still. Like, we'll just do it on our turn. No sweat. Don't mind me. I've lost my track of thought a little bit because you guys didn't have to see this. Oh, Leyline Binding, sure. You guys didn't get to see this, but after round 2, I got really hungry, so I made myself some smoked salmon, and it was delicious. All right, you got it. You've eaten that thing. I get to attack. That'll just make my future creativities better because they don't have the binding anymore, so that's not all bad. Them for 1 and pass the turn. Our best draw by like a mile is just Archon, so I can pitch it to Fable's second chapter. Prismatic Ending, just the Dwarf? Great, you got it, buddy. Pass to me, Mr. 2 cards in hand. Okay, as long as we don't just draw lands for the rest of the game, we should be fine. All right, draw Creativity, great. I would love to discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. Yes, I will pitch Lightning Bolt plus Mountain. Thoughtseize, so I get to have it all? Yeah. Tap for black, Thoughtseize, opponent. 2 copies of the One Ring. Shame you're never gonna get to cast a single one. Scalding Turn, fetch, go grab Dwarven Mine. Probably should have held that binding, huh? Cast Creativity, targeting my dwarf, tapping 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please discard the One Ring and take damage and let me draw a card. I'm gonna F6. I've got no other actions. And I drew another Creativity. Can't beat that. Okay, our opponent's dead. I don't know why they're still playing the game. Can I kill them here? I think I can. I drew another Creativity, sure. So let's see, attack for 6, that brings them to 10. Trigger Archon, that brings them to 3. Creativity for 2 only brings them, no, attack for 6, bring them to 10. Trigger the Archon, bring them to 7. Creativity for 2 brings them to 1. So there's no point in trying to close the game out yet, so we'll just attack with the Archon. Trigger the Archon, get a Renin 6, great. Opponent, you're super dead, by the way. Let's go for a green and a red, make a Renin 6, tick up the Renin 6, buy back Bloodstained Mire, play Bloodstained Mire, pass the turn. All right, easy win for game 1. This is gonna be, I have to imagine this is like the, who started playing that? Was it Doomwake? The like 4-color, 5-color domain Scapeshift deck, kind of a control-y deck. I think that's gotta be what they're on, right? Is Veil of Summer good? I don't think they play very much counter magic. Let's bring in, does Terra Sunder only hit non-lands? It does. Let's bring in a pair of Terra Sunder. They can't be a Blood Moon deck, right? No way. No Ley Lines, no Ray, no Celestial Purge yet, unless I see something that calls for it. Maybe Ray of Revelation, because they're a binding deck. I'll ship all this. I don't think I want any of this. And I think that the cards I don't want are just like 3 copies of Bolt. Everything else is like fine. Yeah, let's just do this. We're gonna more or less keep the same game plan. But we're going to have a slightly more diverse suite of interaction. All right, we've got, this hand's a little sketchy, right? We don't have any black sources, but we've got the Archon and the Persist and the Bitter Reunion all in our hand. So I'm going to take the gamble that I'll draw one of my like 14 fetches in the first 5 draw steps. We'll keep. We'll lead on Dwarven Mine, Shock and Stomping Ground, cast the Bitter Reunion. Unless we draw a fetch, then we're going to Thoughtseize my opponent right now. Hello, my beautiful fetch. I would like to go to 15, please. All right, where's that Blood Crypt? There he is. God, you're beautiful, Blood Crypt. I'll lose 2 life. Tap for black. Thoughtseize you. What you got for me? Is it a Veil of Summer? Ooh, nope, just Renin 6 and Dryad. I don't want them to have either of those cards, to be honest, but the Dryad's a 3-drop, so let's just take the Renin 6 and stop them from maintaining some type of card advantage and pass turn. With that being the texture of their hand, it's a shame I didn't just Thoughtseize my own Archon. That would have been maximum cool points if I did it that way. But we didn't do it that way. All right, Overgrown Tomb passed to me, sure. So now we really want to get the Bitter Reunion into play, so we'll just Shock and Stomping Ground unless we draw a Bloodstained Mire. No, we'll still Shock and Stomping Ground. We just don't have to have any come into play tap lands anymore. And these are our base colors, Jund. We'll go red, bitter. All right, opponent, I'm going to trigger my Bitter Reunion and pitch Archon of Cruelty. This is an Omen. Pass. Are you going to play Dryad? You've done it. You've played a Dryad. Windswept Heath, sure, pass to me. Okay. Here comes trouble. I've drawn a land every turn, but I'm actually not mad about it. We'll fetch. We're going to grab a mountain. Mountain, red, black. Boy, you better have it right now. Persist Archon. Trigger the Archon. Sacrifice Dryad. Discard what? Forest. I draw another land. Okay. Activate Bitter Reunion. Combat. Okay. Attack for 5. Trigger the Archon. What do you do? Do you have an Orvar? Am I about to get blown out? Oh, you don't. And I draw Creativity. What's your plan, dude? All right. You're at 8. I'm done. Go. They fetch. Go to 7. 4th turn. What do you got? Concede? Or are you going to play the One Ring? Nope. Just a Teferi. Bounce my Archon. Sure. I'm going to Archon you again, though. You got it. He's gone. F6. All right, you better have Binding or Solitude, because here's me casting another Archon. Dwarven Mine triggers. Creativity, target the dwarf. Ah, God. I wish every time you played Creativity, the hands lined up like this. All right. Do you have Spell Pierce or Leyline Binding? You're going to need one of them. They got a Binding. Okay, you got it. So now we're going to pump our brakes and move into the grindy portion of the game, where we're going to start to try to resolve, like, Fable and grind them out of the game, because they're down at 7, so their life total is like comfortably low. The ring would be a pain in the ass here, but we could Terra Sunder the ring, so that's no sweat. Up the Beanstalk, sure, they want to recoup a lot of their lost card advantage. They play a Flooded Strand. What else you got? I draw Renin 6, great. Should I Terra Sunder the Beanstalk now so they can't keep accruing card advantage, or drop Renin 6? I think Terra Sundering makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and drop a Fable first, see what they have to say about that. We need to keep in mind that we need to develop a second black mana, because we have 4 lands in play, 4 in our hand, and we're about to make our 5th land drop. So hardcasting Archon just becomes a thing we get to do. Then Renin 6 or Terra Sunder. Maybe I just save the Terra Sunder for the One Ring? I think so. Would I want to do that? I can't do it on their turn, so maybe I just develop a Renin 6 now. Yeah. Do I have any fetches in my graveyard? I do, but I don't want to expose a Dwarven Mine just yet, so I'll play Scalding Turn. I will fetch. I don't mind dropping to 15 here. Plus, developing a white mana sounds like a pretty good idea. So here's a Sacred Foundry. Shock it into play. Tap for red and green. Here's a Renin 6. I'm going to take that up. I'm going to grab my Scalding Turn, and I will pass the turn. They fetch to 6, sure. Creativity for 2 now kills you convincingly. I think it's like One Ring or bust here. Sure, tick up your Teferi is fine. Tap Valakut, why not? They've got 1 in hand, that's not good. All right, I draw a Steam Vents, which sucks, but I get to activate this second chapter of Fable, so I'll pitch fetch land, draw a couple of fresh ones, a couple more lands, great. Unfortunate. Let's go down on the, I could go down on Teferi, stopping them from bouncing anything, or I could attack them with Goblin Shaman, down tick the Ren and 6, targeting them as well. Then I get a land drop, so that puts me at 7 mana sources, so the following turn I can just Windmill Slam an Archon. No, I think that's too greedy. I think getting Teferi out of play should be a priority. Let's go to combat, and we will attack Teferi Time Raveler for 2, trigger it, make a treasure. Okay, go to damage. Teferi takes 1, goes to 1, great. Go to main phase 2, minus this Ren and 6, take care of this Teferi problem, amazing. And then let's go Arid Mesa, and that will probably have to fetch for Xander's Lounge. And then we can hardcast the Archon next turn, killing our opponent. Yep, pass turn. All right, looks like they're doing nothing. So let's just fetch. We'll grab Xander's Lounge. Now we have Domain, everything's good. On tap, draw a land again. Wow, deck, come on. All right, we'll go to combat. Attack with the 2/2, trigger the 2/2, make a treasure token. They take it, go to 4, great. Main phase 2, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's drop Archon. Archon, red, blue, red, black. Need another black. And this one can be white. Cruelty, would you like to concede, or do you have a counterspell of some kind? Nope, Archon triggers, minus Ren and 6, target your face. Wow, that was incredibly easy. Okay, well, this deck does eat control decks for breakfast, so I guess we get there. He put up like no fight, so that's unfortunate. But let's get into round 5 and see if we can clinch like the 4-1. All right, can I get a die roll win? No, that's all 5 die rolls this league. Count it. This hand is, I'm considering keeping this 1-lander. We have 53 cards left in our deck, with 23 of them being land, so it's a pretty weighted coin flip against us drawing land. However, we have Thoughtseize, Persist, Archon in our hand along with a Ren and 6. I've already gotten the 3-1. I'm feeling froggy. We're gonna keep. We'll just draw the land. And we just need to draw 1 because we have a Ren and 6. So don't lead on Ragavan, opponent. That would be really cool of you. Mishra's Bauble could be a Ragavan. Bauble target them. Okay. Is this the Murktide matchup? This one can be a little tricky. Shock in, Steam Vent, sure. There's a Ragavan. Okay, of course. Of course. Why wouldn't they? All right, trigger 2 baubles, go up to 5 cards in hand. Ooh, I draw the land. Am I a sleazy piece of shit? I think I am. Pass the turn. I never do this against Murktide, but I have the Thoughtseize, so I'm gonna go for a meme sequence here and pitch this Archon. I'm gonna Thoughtseize them the following turn and try to persist my Archon. Unless they turn to Blood Moon me, which rip. All right, they make a treasure and pass to me. Well, I guess I don't have to Thoughtseize them yet. I can just bulky. Oh, they played a Darcy. So I guess we bet everything on drawing untapped land number 2. Okay. I am feeling that sleazy. Fetch, shock in, Blood Crypt, tap black, Thoughtseize opponent. Do you have multiple pieces of permission? If you do, I'll probably concede. We'll go to the next game. That was ambitious, but sometimes they just have a bunch of removal, so I do that every time I'm already 3-1. Just to be fair, if I was 2-2 and I needed the 3-1 to break even / profit on this league, I wouldn't have gone for that. But, you know, sometimes you just gotta. I think Silence and Celestial Purge are considerations. I think Leyline of the Void's pretty bad. Veil of Summer is like our best sideboard card. Ray of Revelation's probably something we need because they're going to Blood Moon us, as is this Plains. Terrastodon and Terra Sunder are probably medium. Claim is something I'll consider. What's not good? I think the Archon plan is like, this isn't like 5-color. The Archon plan's our main plan, so we don't want to back off of that too much. I think we can take out like a Creativity, a Mountain for the Plains. And then we can ship like maybe a single Thoughtseize. We only need the Thoughtseize on the turn we go for it because their deck draws cards so efficiently that we're never going to be able to Thoughtseize them out of the game. Then maybe the Silence is ambitious. Maybe it is. So that means the claim's ambitious. So we want these 5. We got these 3 coming out. What else can I cut from the deck? I think Fable could be cut potentially. It's just like counterspell fodder for the most part. Yeah, let's trim like a Fable. I'm going to go for the trim the corners approach for how to sideboard. I'll also trim a Shadow Prophecy. We'll just trim the corners, not lose anything too meaningful, and bring in some really good interaction. And it Plains so we can like try to outplay Blood Moon. All right, come on deck. Show me a banger 7. My opponent's probably feeling amazing after what they just got to do to us. This hand can do nothing except for deal with a Ragavan. We can deal with the early game, but the Persist is dead right now. The binding's not that great at the moment. The bullet's pretty good, but Double Mind makes me nervous. I'm gonna mulligan this. All right, this hand's double Persist, Archon, Ren and 6. Not bad. I think I need to keep this shipping a Persist. That way if they lead on Monkey, I can Ren and 6 minus. Seems reasonable. We'll open on Scalding turn, going to get Jetmir's Garden. Turn, Firebluff Cano, Ragavan, perfect. Please don't have Force of Negation. The Creativity matchups, I'm playing Creativity. The Murktide matchup's kind of hard to begin with, but when we lose blue from our deck, we don't have Spell Piercer to Fury, it actually just gets harder. Yeah, Jetmir's Garden, Jetmir's Garden. All right, my turn. Another persist, very bad. Glad we shipped one of them. Blood Crypt, shotgun into play. Green, red, Renin 6. Do you have force? Force would be really good. Nope, you don't. Minus, kill monkey, buy monkey, bad monkey. Now we just want to draw like Bitter Reunion or geez, I'd take a Thoughtseize. I'd Thoughtseize my own Archon right now. Darcy, sure. You better kill this Renin 6, otherwise I'm gonna minus on your Darcy, dude. All right, Unholy Heat, you got it. F6. All right, they pitch a Snowco Island, so their Darcy's almost delirious. Scalding Tarn, not phenomenal. We'll just play it and pass. We're kind of sitting tight. This is a spot you can get into versus Murktide a lot. Where like in a lot of matchups, we could sit here like this for a while and just like bank on using interaction to interact with our opponent, but every time we pass the turn and let them untap mana, it gets less and less likely that we're going to be able to resolve their spells. And now Thoughtseize, if I top deck Thoughtseize, there's like this huge push to just Thoughtseize my own Archon. Now, to be fair, if we top deck Thoughtseize, I can Thoughtseize myself. My opponent probably won't interact with it. They probably want to interact with the persists. Then I can fetch for a second Black Source and go for a double persist. That wouldn't actually be that bad. All right, their Darcy is delirious. They've bobbled themselves. I think this Scalding Tarn will go get a Xander's Lounge. Pass to me, great fetch. Zandy's, my turn? My turn. Trigger the bobble, yeah, dude, you got it. We've also developed black for hardcasting Archons if we ever get to that point. Scalding Tarn, pretty bad. We'll play it and pass. We're just holding tight for a bit. Preordain, that's very good. That resolves. All right, they had the combat. They got to attack us for 3. Nothing we can do about that. Their clock is very, very real. They've been to consider. No reason to fetch just yet. Every uncracked fetch post turn 3 is a representation of a Dwarf token, which could block something like that Ragavan. All right, my turn. Steam Vents develop very poorly. We'll play a Steam Vents tapped. We probably need to block that Ragavan with a Dwarf token, assuming they don't have the removal. F6. Our draws have been land, persist. All right, they're going to combat. Oh, just Darcy. They see that I want to block with the Dwarf. They're attacking with Ragavan too. All right, better have the removal. Either that or you better be super cozy with trading me a Ragavan for a Dwarven Mine. One of those two things better be true. Okay, oh, they're going to heat it. Rip. All right, deck, we got one chance. They need to not have Counterspell, and I need to draw like Bitter Reunion. Unlikely. They haven't used a single piece of counter magic yet, so their hand's probably like Counterspell, Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm, or something insane like that. Watch them hit Bitter Reunion with Ragavan. Celestial Purge, I would have enjoyed that, although it probably wouldn't have pulled me out of this spot at all. Oh, they play a Murktide, so they're going shields down. I guess oh no, they left 2 mana up when they did that, never mind. So they cast Murktide, they have 2 mana up that represents Counterspell. I believe this is a 3/2. Watch me just draw, oh, it's Bitter Reunion. Okay, well, I'll go through the motions. Bitter Reunion? Trigger Bitter Reunion? If they had the Counterspell, they should have countered the Reunion, to be honest. Discard a card, draw 2. I'm gonna pitch Archon. Maybe we can draw Veil? Creativity. Well, play Dwarven Mine to play around Spell Pierce. Trigger the Dwarven Mine. And we still have 2 persists, so here we go. I really want this first one to resolve, though. That way I can give my thing haste. All right, red, black, persist, target Archon. Come on, let me have it, please. Flusterstorm, ew, okay. You got it. Okay, I can't pay for any of that. Is the last card in your hand Spell Pierce? I would be so tilted. All right, it could be Unholy Heat. That would be just as bad, right? Black, red, persist, Archon. How about this one? Does this one work? Oh, we have an Archon. That's delightful. All right, trigger the Archon. They're probably going to sacrifice Ragavan, discard a card. They have the heat, because of course they do. Is there any way out or around this? No, I'm going to gain 3, and that'll put me up at 7, which is just enough to die to the Murktide Regent. Oh, opponent. I drew very poorly, and you drew very perfectly. Good game, jerk. All right, this deck's still pretty sweet. I still like... Creativity fell out of favor for a little while, and makes sense. There was a lot of there was a big shakeup in the format when Lord of the Rings came out. But now I think there's space for creativity in the format, to be honest with you. But I'll probably be playing creativity at some point again soon. I might move back to the 5-color version. I just really wanted to try the Jedi Jund variant that I saw on the deck drops. But that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I will see you next time.